Oh, that's 60 seconds.
It's 60 seconds, yeah.
And there we go. Okay. So it's all happening here, folks. Welcome to Leaderslive. It has been an interesting morning with all the storms that we've had. We've had internet problems, and we've got Karen and Jo Sing in the room today, and they've had a tree which has blown out their internet. So it's like, oh my gosh. So they've just had to set up office somewhere else, and you can see they're at sea at the moment. So just getting their cameras set up. So I'll say hello to them in a minute when they've got themselves sorted. Helping us to engage this morning, we've got Birdie and Hugo, our fab moderator, chipping in, and she'll be keeping the interaction flowing this morning. How you doing, Birdie? Quick say hello.
I'm doing well, thanks, Andrew. Thanks
Brilliant.
For having me here yet again.
No problem at all.
Yet again.
And, do you know what? This is the 40th show, folks. The 40th show. Fantastic. You know, we've been all part of this growing community of people, so that we are doing. Just waiting for the feed to come up. So the feed hasn't come up yet, but I'm just waiting for the feed to come up. So let's just hope we are on live. Yes, we are. The feed is there. So Karen and Jo, how you doing? You all right?
Oh yeah, we're excellent. Yeah,
we're excellent. Yeah, we're doing fine. We had we had internet issues today, so Karen and Jo Sing, they're on their iPhone at the moment, so we'll just have to pray that it'll all work out. So, oi people, good morning. It's the Leaderslive show time, folks, and it's just after 8:45 in the morning here in the UK. I can see people joining. That's great, and we are live with Leaderslive, spreading the love, folks, spreading the love. Yabba dabba do. And we're streaming out on LinkedIn, we're streaming out on YouTube, we're streaming out on Facebook profiles, a Facebook group or two, Twitter, and now Twitch as well. Woo-hoo! Ta-da! So there you go. And you can now catch all of our shows on podcast too, folks. We're on Anchor FM, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. So you can listen to us while you're jogging, on a train, on a plane, in an automobile, or catch us while you're cooking or ironing. And we're just so excited about that. So remember too, folks, this is an interactive show, people. So please let us know. Let us know you're on, get involved with us, join in, ask questions, network with the group. You can even do a bit of friendly banter. You know how it goes, folks. So this morning's guest, I'm going to be hanging out with, let me just change scenes quickly. I'm going to be hanging out with Karen and Jo Sing. So how are you doing this morning? Both with the hectic school run and all sorts of things going on, and then internet connection issues.
That's right, floods.
Yeah. Floods.
Storms. It's not the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but we're here. It might be on the iPhone, but we're here.
We're here. Brilliant. Okay, well, the count's coming up. So let us know you're on live, folks, listening and tuning in. That'll be great. So Karen and Jo Sing both have a passion for extraordinary money mindset conversations and around their book, The 4 Money Mindsets. And today we chat about all things related to money, folks. Just quickly bring on Birdie again for a moment. So during the countdown, I briefly introduced Birdie, our moderator. So here's a chance to say a bit more to everybody. Birdie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to everyone's comments today and to learn a bit more about money mindsets.
Yeah, so we'll be driving Birdie will be driving the comments today. So please interact with us. Let us know you're online. To know that we've got the connection still running okay. So I could see morning to Andrew Bryant and Joe Cooper, who are on already at the moment. Please let us know you're on. That would be great, so we know we're not just talking to thin air. That would be very useful. So I'll come back to you in a moment, Karen and Jo Sing, as well as Birdie. So I'll come back to you all in a tick. So quick mention about Leaderslive is an interactive show, folks, so please join in, use the comments for questions, as I've said. Remember, it's a group conversation, you know how it goes. And the quick teaser today is when it comes to money, some people comfortably manage their money, and for others, money just seems to kind of slip through their fingers. And so how about you? Let us know in the conversation as we're moving along, how do you manage your money? And Birdie will pop that question in as we're going along. There's a bit of delay in the feed, so It'll take us a while for those comments to come through, but please start interacting with us. So according to Karen and Jo's research, writing their book, The 4 Money Mindsets, the path to financial success is surprisingly predictable. Ooh, so why do so many people struggle managing money? Well, we'll explore all of that today. So what does financial success mean is something we'll be exploring. Is it really predictable, as Jo Sing and Karen say? And if so, how do we get our heads around talking, about taking the right steps and talking about money and making it work better for us more of the time? And are the 4 money mindsets, what do we need to pay attention to? What are they and what do we need to pay attention to? And how do you change your own money mindset? Ooh. And what actionable steps can people take to be financially successful? Ooh. All of these things, but I don't know the answer to these, but Karen and Jo Sing do and they'll let us know all about that in a moment. So put it all together, and what have you got? Yep, you've got it, folks. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Love that expression. So we've got a freebie giveaway today, folks, a book offer, and it's a very generous one. So we'll come to that at the end of the show. So stick around, folks. Now, I've got a few more comments coming through, so that's nice to hear. So that's good. Just bear with me. So, if you're new to the show and you don't know me, I'm Andrew Jenkins. Smash those likes and those thumbs up too, folks. We'd really appreciate that. That keeps us motivated too. And please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Birdie will put the link in the chat right now. It's really hard building a YouTube channel if any of you tried it. So we'd love your support, please. So please, please do that and subscribe in the link given below. So, back to the guest scene. So back to you, Karen and Jo Sing. And just before you begin, let's just give you a round of applause. Do you know what, Karen? You're going to be cleaning that up for ages, Karen and Jo Sing. So it's going to go everywhere.
To have that level of mess this early in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how's that for a build-up for the both of you there?
Yeah, we're happy.
Oh,
we're happy. Yeah,
we're happy. Good. Okay, let me just switch scenes just for a moment. So get rid of the confetti just for a minute. So, Karen and Jo Sing, kick us off. You've got a couple of questions you'd like to ask the audience to get us going. Take it away for us.
Yeah. I mean, we have found we've worked with helping people shift their money mindset for over a decade now.
Yeah.
And one of the things we found is people can feel very uncomfortable talking about money, and it does carry a kind of a big, emotional charge with it. So, a lot of people, they would prefer to talk about sexual deviance, like their own sexual deviance, rather than talk about the ins and outs of their own money. So what we'd love people just to consider, if you just quiet down and go inside for a second and just feel into, when you think about money, what comes up for you? Do you feel anything in your body as you think about money? Or you might feel really numb. And all we'd say is just start to notice what you feel about money, because this is the start of the work. Yeah,
that's an interesting question, isn't it? When you think about money, is there enough? Are we okay this month? Those are some of the things that might come up for some people.
It's so true. This is spot on. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk in a bit more detail about that later, because noticing that kind of thing, Andrew, is really important.
Yeah, how you feel about it. Do you feel panicky inside? So just checking the budgets and things in the morning, and is everything still okay? Are we still on track? Okay, so there's a few things coming up in the comments. Birdie, let's just quickly go to Birdie. What's going on in the comments? Let's just quickly pick up a few of these now while we're at it.
Oh, Richard Singh said financial literacy is just something we don't focus on within the education system.
Oh, Richard, I'm with you.
Richard.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Yes, and Joe said, I seem to manage money well, but now and again I have a blip. Probably.
Yeah.
A pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. Quite common,
Yeah.
my guess
thank
is,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes, and then she also said, if I have a few quid in the bank, I feel relaxed. When funds are dwindling, I get a massive headache.
I love it. But do you see, that's somebody now who's already starting to notice. They can notice their pattern.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, if you can notice your pattern, you can do something about it, can't you? It's when you don't even notice it. That's where it's an issue. Isn't that's right, isn't it? Yeah.
That is interesting, isn't it? And
Yeah.
you know, that I was just thinking, you know, could you sleep well if you're in the red compared to when you're in the black, right? And you know, I know that I can sleep easier if I'm, you know, if things are, I'm in the black and everything's okay, if you get what I mean. But if I'm in the red, I don't sleep well, if that makes sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I like that idea of yours that people prefer to talk about their sexual deviancy rather than worry about money. So money is kind of one of those things that we don't like to talk about at all. We'd much rather talk about other subjects.
We lie about money more than anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's so fascinating. We're just obsessed with it, really.
Yeah, and it's a very personal thing, isn't it? I suppose.
That's right.
You know? Okay. So, right, we're waiting for other comments to come through. Let's just get into some of the questions, get stuck in. So, you know, what does financial...
Andrew, there was one other thing.
Oh, yeah,
There's just one other
it.
question before we start. I just wanted people to think about, and bang it in the comments as you're going, because this makes it really more valuable, yeah?
Yeah.
If you have a think about, is there a takeaway you want from this little session with the two of us? So, you know, ask a few questions, because we're happy, we'll answer anything.
Absolutely. So, folks, there it is. If you've got some questions of Karen and Jo Singh, please ask them. Maria's just come in. Good morning, Maria. I often feel guilty when I spend what I consider a large amount of money. Oh yeah, that old guilt thing.
I love it. Is that Maria? You're a star. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. My wife would attest to that. She hates spending lots of big money, so she's very thrifty. So that's I get that completely. Thanks, Maria. This was Jo's comment a few moments ago. If I've got a few quid in the bank, I'll feel relaxed.
Yeah,
when funds are
thanks,
dwindling.
Jo.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay,
fantastic. Good morning, Syed. By the way, great to have you online. We're just talking about money, Syed. So join in by all means. So, you know, what does financial success actually mean? And look, is it really predictable? Jo Singh and Karen, and if so, you know, how do we get our heads around taking the right steps to make our money work better for us more of the time? Take it away for us.
It's so predictable. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And we didn't really understand this exactly when we started all of this out so many years ago. But I suppose the quest started with my parents. My mum came from an incredibly poor background, and my dad came from one of the richest families in Ireland. And I could see that they did very different things, both sides of the families. Yeah. And that's what started the quest to find out, like, how come one set of guys, they just do things all the time and it always seems to work out well for them, and how is it a disaster for the others all the time? And as we worked more on it, we worked out it's financial success is about taking the right financial decisions and the right actions all of the time, consistently. The more often you take a good financial decision and back it up with a good action, it'll show up in your bank account. It's concrete and it's alarmingly simple. And I suppose in one way, it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy for a lot of people to do.
Right. So it's simple, but not necessarily easy. Tell us more about that. Yeah.
Well, I think, and this again was so fascinating. The more work we did about this, the more we started to find the roots of why do so many people struggle to get something right when it's actually so utterly predictable. And we started off with discovering, yes, you get your money mindset largely from your parents, because you're taught the actions, aren't you? And the decisions from your parents.
Yeah.
And then the more, or significant people around you, but then the more and more work we did, the more we started to see there are these like archetypal subconscious beliefs that, particularly in our culture, but in lots of other cultures we've worked with, and we've worked with people globally, that people have these deep blocks and blind spots about money. And they come from fairy tales. I mean, things like, we'll say Rumpelstiltskin, that this guy is some kind of alchemist, that being good with money comes from being, you know, an alchemist who can weave this gold out of straw. Or you're going to be working in a kitchen and you're going to have these two horrible stepsisters kicking you around the place. But that's cool because a prince is going to come and rescue you when all of this will carry on.
My favourite is the magic beans. You know, you're going to the market and someone's going to hand you these magic beans and you're going to be phenomenally successful. Magic and luck, you know. And they are fairy tales.
Golden eggs.
They influence, like, if we think, if people think and believe, and we see it all the time, and you can see, like, I get quite impassioned about this, like people believing that the only power they have is some kind of alchemy, or somebody's going to come and rescue them, like that it's either magic or something. It renders 98% of us powerless. And what would be good, Andrew, if you've got...
That's slide one.
Yeah, that's slide one. We've done an awful lot of research into money mindsets, and more than 98% of the population have a poorer money mindset. It's actually only about 0.1% actually have the very rich money mindset. And I'm sure of it. I noticed it when I was growing up with, like, what did my dad's family know and what did the other guys know? And it was just that they took different actions. They could start out on day one with the same amount of money, and one crowd would end up with loads of money and the other crowd would end up in debt.
Wow. Gosh.
And it was just actions, the decisions and the actions they took.
And if you can consistently take these, that they're going to give you the results, aren't they? That's what makes it so predictable.
So the 2% have got it right, and got that kind of more... that rich money mindset thing you've got there on the right. Is that right? And then 98% have different attitudes to it, but don't quite get the whole making money thing.
And because of the kind of fairy tales and the education system, you know, it's almost like the majority of us are being powerless.
Yeah, Richard mentioned that, didn't he, earlier on? Let's just bring Richard's comment up again. This was Richard Singh's comment. Financial literacy is just something we don't focus on within the education system.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so many of us just, if you're not taught about something at all, if you thought that weight loss happened through magic, magic, you had no power over it. You'd actually be miserable because you'd feel you had no agency. But we're bringing up so many kids believing they've got no agency. It's luck. And that's so important about the mindsets, because we see there are 4 of them. There's in debt.
Oh yeah, let me get that one up. Let's have a look. Is that this one here, or even the one before it. Do you remember the one? Okay, I'm sorry, the one. The one we just.
That's cool. Yeah,
that's it. There we go. Yeah.
So there are 4 money mindsets: in debt, break even, comfortable, and rich. Yeah. And whichever one you have dictates how financially successful you are. But what's interesting, like in school, we're encouraged to get into debt.
Yeah.
Do you know, when they talk in the school curriculum about saving money, they mean spending a bit less, a bit more wisely. They don't mean there is a special skill on how you save and how you save for investing and all of that. They're just teaching our kids the wrong thing.
Yeah, my wife is a brilliant saver and very, very good at managing money. And you know, she would say that the school system just doesn't teach people to budget and to save. And one of the first things that we did in our early marriage was, you know, encouraging, Sarah's encouragement to help her save. And she was a saver, and it really did help because it makes you sleep at night. And I remember a friend of mine, not so long ago, actually ringing me up and saying, you know, Andrew, you're so confident in what you do. You know, I'd love to have the strong belief that you've got, you know, that makes you so, you know, so confident in yourself. And I said, well, hang on a minute, let's just stop there, because there might be some real things why that seems to be the case. It might not be about just being confident. So I asked him a question and kind of said, look, just out of interest, what keeps you awake at night? And he just said, well, paying the mortgage. And I said, okay, so, and by the way, I've got an expensive wife, he said. And I thought, right, okay. So he's worried every month to break even. Yeah. And I said, so, that's the thing. You talked about emotions earlier on. And for him, he was sort of quaking in his bed every night thinking, am I going to make the fees this month to pay for all the outgoings I've got? Where for me, I'd got savings behind us, business wise. So, we've run out of money too. Business is cruel sometimes. But essentially the key maxim is, look, have cash flow behind you business wise, but also personally have savings behind you. So if there is a rainy day, and guess what, there are always rainy days, that you can pay for the clutch that goes wrong on the car, or the gearbox that blows up and things like that. So you can actually do stuff like that. So sometimes it's not a belief in confidence is also settled in our deep rooted money mindset. I'm wondering, Karen and Jo.
It is, absolutely it is. And you find, particularly then, when you have people who will say, with an in-debt money mindset, and of course there's huge discomfort there with the in-debt money mindset. But we also find with the comfortable money mindset, where people, they just save and they don't, and the schools don't teach this. They don't teach what you do to make every penny work. You know what I mean? That's another money mindset. Yeah.
That's interesting, that actually. So just talk us through these 4 mindsets. And just before we do that, Jo Cooper's just joined in here to say, totally agree, at school, money guidance should really be taught. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. So the 4 money mindsets, and we're gonna put the next slide up in a little bit, Andrew.
Of course, no problem.
And I'll talk people through the behaviours. And from this next slide, guys, you will get to see your own money mindset. These were fascinating, because when we set out to do any work with money mindsets, we didn't understand at all that there were 4 money mindsets. We thought there were 2. We thought there was the in-debt money mindset and the not in-debt money mindset. But often you discover great things as you do the research and you put in the work. But what had happened was, I was a debt advisor. And Jo and I are both NLP master practitioners, and we work with embodiment coaching and all sorts of things. But I wanted to do some of this after I had the youngest child. This is a long time ago now, and I wanted to do a bit of debt advice to give back, really. So I did some work with the Citizens Advice Bureau and with another company, and very, very soon I started to see, oh my goodness, the way debt advice is set up and the whole system is set up, it actually works to keep people in debt. Wow. And I came back to Jo and I said, look, we have to do something about this. This is awful. Because a few awful things happened where I came, to talk to families who were in desperate positions one night. And when I had to give it up, the way we were doing it with the CAB, and that was one night going out to visit a family to try to help them with their debts. And it was a lovely house with 2 lovely shiny cars on the driveway. And when I got into the house, they were losing the house the following day, and the kids were upstairs in the bath. They hadn't even told them. And you know what I mean? Awful things like that. So I thought, we have to do something about this. And as we went out to do research on this in-debt money mindset and not in-debt money mindset, what came, and we had a big sample size. What became very obvious was there was an in-debt money mindset. Certainly there's an in-debt money mindset, but there is also a break-even money mindset, and there is a comfortable money mindset, and there is a rich money mindset, and the behaviors are completely different. Like, we now can look at somebody's bank statements. Actually, we can just, by hearing somebody speak now, we can say, yeah, this is the money mindset we're dealing with here. To help somebody shift.
So you can pick it up in language which one of these people are in. Yeah.
Totally. And it's easy because you can see it in someone's financial behaviours.
Yeah. And you mentioned the break-even and comfortable as the two middle ones there, with in debt on the one end and rich on the other. Just talk us through the difference between break-even and comfortable for us folks, for the folks listening.
Now, what I'm going to talk about is, if we put the other slide up, because this will really help people.
Yeah, there we go.
And I'll talk you through the little icons now.
Okay.
But these are the sets of behaviours you see.
Yeah.
Now, we had a raft of questions that we went out to research. But the first one we started with was, when your money comes in, what happens to it immediately? Tell me the behaviours that happen with your money as soon as you get it.
Yeah.
Now, the in-debt people, and I used to see this in the CAB, the first thing that you would see would be that it was spent. It was, some of it already went to service debt, consumer debt. So as soon as it went in, it went straight out again. And then they would spend the rest. So it's spent and spend. That's the pattern we see. And if somebody, bless them, was deep in debt, they would maybe borrow more again. Do you know?
Yeah.
The break-even money mindset is totally different. The first thing you will see with somebody with the break-even money mindset is they will cover fixed expenses.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they're fixed.
So they know what's going out, and they'll make sure that everything that has to go out is covered.
Yeah.
And then if there's any left over, it'll go into savings.
So
but
it's a second action of
whatever
saving.
Comes in.
Yeah. Okay. And they will have a little bit. And if somebody with the break-even money mindset saves, they save for a specific purpose. Yeah. Freddie's birthday, or a new washing machine, or they save for something specific.
Holiday.
Whereas the comfortable money mindset's completely different. You see automatic saving. Before they spend anything, they will save.
Yeah.
And then they will spend out of the remaining bet. And it doesn't matter how little or how much comes in, they will first of all save. And then the rich money mindset, the interesting thing is, the first thing they will do as soon as the money comes in is they will leverage money. And leveraging means doing more with little. And they understand how to make a lot more money out of the money that's coming in. And they will only spend once they've leveraged money, and they're actually creating money off the leveraged money, and then they will spend. And you see, it's very different, because somebody with an in-debt money mindset might borrow money for a big flashy car. Somebody who's truly got a rich money mindset will buy whatever they want out of money that's leveraged.
That they've made money from.
Very different approach.
Very different approach, isn't it? That's really interesting. Give us some examples of leveraging, Jo Singh.
Yeah, it would be the kind of thing where you've already built up investment pots, but you actually use that, for example, in your business to build more assets. So anything that will actually systematize in terms of investments or businesses that will bring you more money in. So you can use technology, for example, to get your business going better. You can get people involved once you've got systems. And what you find is that these the kind of financial behaviors, we were saying about what makes it so predictable. This is how the first action someone does, for example, and your first action will put you into the actual mindset itself.
Yeah.
So for an in-debt person, the money's already spent before it lands in the account.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I see that, but the leveraging one's really interesting, and I'm just teasing out just a few sort of down to earth, simple actions that people can do to leverage their money more, to get into that, to see the rich money mindset, perhaps.
I mean, an important thing to always be doing is, is investing, creating.
Investing,
it's using your money to create more. That's what leveraging is, really.
Yeah, and Joe's just I was just about to say, look, guys, can you chip in here and just what are your questions here about the 4 money mindsets? And they're starting to come through now. So Joe's asked this question, which I think is a really interesting question. Is there a way of leverage without a company? Is there a domestic way of doing this? My guess is there must be.
Leveraging without a business,
Yeah.
You can leverage by, we'll say, investing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is a way without it. But I will say that the best way of building assets and leveraging is through a business. It is, isn't it?
It is,
yeah. With that, yeah.
And what it is, you get the kind of highest return through building your own business. It's the hardest thing to do as well.
Okay, so you can do it domestically, but it's better to do it through a business. So some examples of investing in a business, what would that be then? To invest in systems, you said earlier.
It is systems, but it's also it's building assets in the business. So, for example, your intellectual property is an asset in your business.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah, and you can leverage that, because if you think of it, if you look at the 4 money mindsets, that's an asset of ours. That goes worldwide, and we can leverage it by just having it digitally on the screen there.
Okay. So actually, for like training courses, for example, just think about my own stuff. Yeah, you could leverage that, so it makes money for you while you sleep, for example, like books, for example,
all the time.
As well.
Our book does. We've sold thousands and thousands of our book, and our book, because it tells people a lot about our process, brings people to us who will work with us. So we're leveraging our intellectual property, our know-how, that we know how to solve a problem for people. Yeah. In teaching them how money really works, so they can be financially successful. And we've leveraged all of our knowledge through technology.
So that's one example. Another sort of simpler example might be to invest in property, for example, rather than paying rent. You pay a mortgage. Would that be an example?
As long as it's the right thing. Absolutely. Yes.
Because you're looking to get better cash flow and increase your net worth. So investments go across the board. Business is the big one, because returns are very high. There is property, and there's also the investments in the general stock market, through vehicles like even pensions.
Pensions,
but
maybe,
and stocks and shares as well.
And stocks and shares, Okay, or even very risky ones like crypto, perhaps.
Absolutely, and it's always, though, remembering, when we talk about really growing your wealth, understanding the difference between invest, speculate, and bet. Yeah,
because this isn't about betting on the lottery, right? This is about growing through speculation.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about a simple example, like, if you've got a company and you've got premises, so rather than rent it, you could purchase it and then rent out the top floor, for example. Would that be an example of leveraging?
It absolutely would. And it would be, and the real thing would be, purchase it with other people's money, because you're leveraging other people's money. Yeah. And work out of it yourself. And then we'll say you could create loads more money from it, from letting out the top floor and doing some other things like that.
Yeah, and then
so
eventually
it's
selling it.
Making more with less.
Making more with less. Right, okay, good. So it's finding some avenues to take your profits and invest them wisely, right?
It is, and making more with less, creating more from the little you have.
And it's easier to do that within a business.
And it's very different to saving, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah. So it's a very different mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just give you a break for a moment. Berdine, what's going on in the comments here?
Andrew just mentioned, looking at the charts, I'm a break-even person. And then one of the comments that didn't come through is, it's just, you've already answered that, but Joe said, do you see stocks or shares, Bitcoin, NFTs work?
Say that again.
Do we see the word stock, shares and NFTs? And it is the thing there.
And non-fungible tokens.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
And of course, do we see? Is this? I'm just trying to see the question. Do we see stocks and shares and NFTs working?
Yes.
Is that the question? Yeah.
And Bitcoin.
I
Yes.
can't find it in the feed. Did it not come through on the feed? Did it not? Right.
If you're investing systematically in the right thing.
Yeah.
NFTs are quite new now, but obviously what will happen, and this is the same with crypto. I mean, we don't know which digital currency, which crypto is going to be, ultimately the most successful, or it's still in earlier stages. The same as NFTs and cryptos are very closely linked. But anyone who thinks it'll just go away is mad.
Yeah, blockchain's here to stay,
everything
right?
is the way forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and equally so, be cautious of the magic bean syndrome, where it's
Listen to the man.
Building wealth is across the piece of all assets. It's business, it's property, and it's investments. But if it's very new and you've not had a lot of time, and you're not an expert in it, the risk is quite high as well.
Yeah,
so
it's
get
little
a good
by
return
little
on across the board, but don't overexpose yourself.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Berdine, back to the comments again.
Maria said, I work out whether it is worth for me spending money on services that free up my time so I can make money with that time.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Jo?
Very good.
Yeah, okay. So that's is that an example? Sorry, is that an example of rich money mindset then? Is it that sort of thinking?
That is an example of the rich money mindset.
Yeah.
As long as you make decent use of the time, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Anything else, Berdine?
Maria also said an investment in my self-development last year led to my role now, so it paid for itself in the first month.
Yeah.
And it will continue to pay a long time after the first month, Maria. Investing in yourself is the most important thing.
There you go. Right, there's a great example, investing in yourself to make more money downstream. Yeah, brilliant. I really like that.
Hugely important, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Excellent. Berdine.
Right, then Jo said there's so many out there with regards to the crypto, NFTs, etc. And she also said tennis worth. Okay,
what does that mean? I don't understand that.
Oh, I don't.
She's only tried a tenner so far.
Oh, a tenner's worth. Oh, as in gotcha. Yeah, that's so £10 worth. Okay. Well, dip your toe in. I mean, a lot of people are doing that right now and just putting in small amounts of money. My wife often says with investments, and because we invest in lots of different things, and if you can afford to lose it, then it's worth investing. But remember, you might lose the whole thing. So and I thought that's quite a good piece of advice, really. Don't bet your whole house on it, right? In other words, bet what you can afford to lose.
That is dangerous, and like when we talk about investments in that way, we're talking about systematically building wealth. We're talking about playing the game to win. Yeah.
Playing the game to win. Yeah.
Yeah, we're entrepreneurs. We don't like losing money.
No, absolutely.
Win,
So this is very purposeful, isn't it? It's very logically thought out. We're going to give this a go. Yes, it may turn out wrongly for us, but we can mitigate that, as we're going along if we're sensible.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Fine. Gotcha. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think Jo says, I've tried a tenner so far. Lol, sorry guys for the confusion. Okay, fine, great. So, look, we now know what the 4 money mindsets are, and we've started to tease out a little bit on the leveraging side, the rich money mindset a little bit, and giving some ideas of that. How do we go about changing our own money mindset? I mean, Andrew, for example, Andrew Bryant, I'm just bringing his comment up again. Andrew says, looking at the chart, I'm a break-even person. So, taking Andrew, for example, how could we move him to up the line, if you like, from a break-even to comfortable to a rich money mindset? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is all credit to actually knowing what money mindset you're actually running.
Yeah, spot on.
That's probably one of the hardest things. It's not as easy as it sounds, but looking at the evidence, you can see then what the financial behaviors are. Yeah. And then once you know where you are, you can then take the next step, which is going to be different for everyone, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take it one step at a time. So,
you
and
do.
that's great. You know, it's great to know. Well, actually, the first step is exactly as you said, Jo Sing, to work out, well, where am I right now, and be absolutely honest with yourself, right? You know, and then think about, okay, how do I make that next step? Okay.
Yeah, and the important thing as well is to figure out, okay, where am I and why? Like, start to look at your patterns and start to think, right, I'm doing that again, and this month I've broken even again. You know, try and figure out why you're there, isn't it, John?
That's right, yeah. And the next step for that particular mindset would be then just to automate a portion of the income coming in, to put it into savings consistently.
Indeed. Yeah, so you're then saving first rather than saving second, say, for example, for Andrew's example there. Okay, that's there you go, Andrew. There's a hint and tip. Yeah. And then from the comfortable mindset, which you're now saving, so you've got into that habit, is then to think about your savings and use them as leverage, right?
That is some of it. And also, before, yes, you'll be leveraging your money, but we will be looking, when we work with people, we'll say going from comfortable to rich. There are 4 specific key indicators there that we look at that you would need to shift.
Oh, okay.
And we've got a slide for that.
Slide number 3.
Slide number 3. Yeah, and because the jump from comfortable to rich, it takes more. To get up there. And what we start to look at is the skill. We've said, if you have a look at it, we look at, there's the entrepreneurial flow of numbers, and we measure somebody's ability to understand and implement the entrepreneurial flow of numbers. And then we look at people's asset building skills. So it will be you looking at, if you've got a comfortable money mindset, looking at your current asset building skills and how effective they are. There are 5 skills associated with being very financially successful. And comfortable money mindset people have 4 out of 5 of these skills. So they are good at managing. Yeah. They are good at saving. Yeah. They're good at spending, because spending money is a skill. Okay. Yeah.
Spending it wisely. Yeah.
Spending it properly on all of the right things. And
then there's giving as well as a skill.
Okay. Yeah. Tithing and things like that, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And there is the creating that actually is a huge skill. That's, again, it's not taught or known, you see, widely at all.
Yeah, I bet you most people on here were never taught about creating money at school. And it's looking at, so what might be stopping me creating here, or what do I understand about how to create money? Yeah. And we look a lot into, the block and the blind spot, because we've got all of these fairy stories, we've got all of these beliefs and things that our parents believed, and all of this in the mix. That can absolutely stop us creating money, because loads of us believe you have to be some little guy, creating it from straw, weaving gold, or
you think I am Rockefeller. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
all
that
of those things.
Actually creating money is bad.
Yeah.
That bad people do that. This is a very prevalent belief. And we can guarantee you one thing: if you believe that rich people are bad, your subconscious is not going to let you become what you deeply believe is a bad person.
Yeah, back to your NLP training again. So that mindset and blind spots and blocks, folks, that is really important. And coming back to Andrew's dilemma, some of that is shifting those blocks and blind spots as well along the way. That's really, really interesting. Berdine, just very quickly, what's going on in the chat there?
Joe's question came through a bit late, so it is now in the.
Oh yeah, do you see stock, shares, Bitcoin, NFTs work? Okay, we've answered that. Right.
And then Andrew just said thank you
Okay.
for the advice.
Lovely. Okay, so thank you for that. Right. So let's. So we've now looked at. Okay, so there's some key skills, some critical skills that people need to learn. They need to understand the numbers. They need to understand how to build assets, have an ability to create assets through building, growing, selling, and buying income generating assets. A little bit probably like what Maria said earlier. She invested in herself, and then that then yielded some return in the future. And then having the skills in the right order and getting rid of blockages are some of the things that we've got to do along the way to move through the money mindset for the 4 money mindsets, right, Karen?
That's right. And and all the skills are all detailed in the book. Indeed. And the book is more, it's a very easy read, and it's more like a workbook. So if people are curious, to understand leverage or the skill of creating money or anything like that, all of that is in there, and it's really quite simply explained.
Yeah. So these are, I was going to ask you a question on terms of, so what actionable steps can people take to be more financially successful? And here's some of them, right? Are there any summary points here? We're just coming to an end really in our time today. Yeah. Is there anything you can summarize there for people listening?
Well, it's again, we've spoken about this already. Become aware of your financial patterns and preferences. Yeah. What are you habitually actually doing? And that lets you know what mindset you're in. And it's this bringing the awareness up it's one of the best qualities, Yeah. And being honest about money as well, because a lot of us aren't actually honest about what keeps us up and why exactly.
Yeah, that's right. And then probably one of the most critical things is if you can get feedback on your own financial success and why. Like that's one of the things, and I bet you guys, you find it in leadership or anything like that, like we do with money. With money. If people work for themselves, their ability to get high quality feedback is quite low because they don't generally have a manager or something like that. And you need feedback from somebody who actually understands the standards against which you need feedback. There's no point going down the pub and asking a guy there whether he thinks you're financially successful or not. Or do you know what I mean? Or your Auntie Joan, if she's in debt. You need feedback from, what do we call them, Joe? A believable person,
someone who's actually done what it is that you want to do, and they can explain their reasoning behind the decision.
So someone with a rich money mindset might be really helpful to talk to.
That's exactly it.
And that's why we break it up into the key indicators, because it's actually quite a complex process, all of it, to achieve what you want to achieve. But get used to asking very, very good questions and listening, because you'll find out then what someone's very good at. It's probably only one aspect of the whole spectrum. But
and that's what your book details a lot of, which we're going to come back onto in a moment. Berdine, there's someone who's just popped in some comments there. Who's that, Berdine?
Yes, it's from Joe. So Joe said, my family life was in debt. Often do you think that made an impact on my way of thinking?
Hugely.
We were always hiding away from the debt collectors or having to make excuses, such as our parents aren't in, but we'll pay you next week.
Oh, do you know, and the truth of it is, guys, this is actually hugely common. There is so much shame around money, and we don't talk about it. We are encouraged to get into debt. I mean, but like, I've worked as a debt advisor and I worked for the Citizens Advice Bureau. So many of us are encouraged to get into debt, and so many of us are encouraged in this society to be consumers. It seems like we view financial success by what we can see somebody can consume, not what they create. Which is so sad. And never beat up on yourself about being in debt, but do always get help. And if you grew up in a family with debt, it does really, really affect people, and it can make people either to be in debt themselves, or we've often seen people who are terrified to spend any money because they've had such an awfully frightening experience as a child.
Indeed,
they're too scared to spend.
Which is where you started with the emotions, the emotional side.
That's right.
And how important that is. Things like CAP, the Christian, what's it called?
Yeah.
Christians Against Poverty charity.
That's right. They're really good. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic and really great. If you're if you're having debt issues, then they will sort you out. And Citizens Advice Bureau, as you've mentioned as well. Okay, look, we could go on for ages here, and I'm really conscious that. We need to start to wrap up. And listen, we've got this this book offer here. Look, folks, we've got a freebie giveaway today. It's a free signed book to any attendees who are live now during Leaders live stream. So right now, and anyone requesting the book during the replay and the podcast too. So that's different. So please type in the comments, folks, free book in the comments now, and your email address. And for those listening later on the podcast or watching on the replay, and want a signed free book, then, please email your delivery address details to Karen at the4moneymindset.com, 4 as in the number 4. So Karen at the4moneymindset.com with the subject line Leaders Live 22nd of February. And Karen and Jo Singh will follow up with you directly for postal addresses, etc. Now, this deal is open for 50 books, folks, because this subject is so important to Jo and to Jo Singh and Karen. This is massively important to just, they want to get this book out there for you guys. Now, the offer does have to close at some point because otherwise they'll just run out of books. So the offer closes by the end of March and it's for the first 50 books. Okay. So there you go, folks. So please join in and get your free book. I can see that Jo and Maria have already joined in on that one. So for those of you that still want that, like Andrew and others joined on here, please signal that you'd like that, and that will be made available to you. You can't get fairer than that, folks. I don't think. You definitely can't get fairer than that. So thanks for that. And also, look, if you want advice on money, then please contact Karen and Jo Singh through their LinkedIn profile. Their link will be in the feed. Birdie will pop that in as well. So you've got that available to you, so you can have those conversations. I'm sure Karen and Jo will be delighted to speak to you. I hope that. Is that okay?
Do you know? And we're really approachable. If you want a bit of a chat. And the thing about it, guys, if anybody is struggling with their money, for goodness sake, please talk to somebody about it. Yeah. It's so sortable. We've never seen a financial situation that isn't sortable, Andrew. But we're not taught to talk about it.
Isn't that true? We keep it to ourselves, and it's the shame thing as well, and all sorts of emotions are going on here. Paul Morrison just says, great session. Thanks, Paul Morrison.
Thanks for
Paul. That. Yeah, lovely to hear from you as well, Paul. So, look, thank you very much. So I hope you found this session useful, folks, and has given you ideas to help you with your own money mindset. And if you need any further advice, as we've just said, with money-related matters, you can contact Jo Singh and Karen separately on the email address provided and on their LinkedIn profile too. Birdie's just put all that lot in the chat as well in the comments field. So thanks again, Karen and Jo Singh, for unpacking your book. Loved having you on the show. This is a really important subject, folks, and is tricky, and thank you for illuminating it so easily for us today. And for those of you, remember to subscribe to YouTube as well, and Birdie's put the comments in the field as well. So let me just bring up the next scene. So before I get on to what's on next week, a quick word on what's the purpose and the why to Leaders Live, and it all starts with the idea and the passion that you are more than you think. We are more than we think. You are more than you think. And we are also building a community of like-minded people, folks. And this is particularly relevant to build back better businesses after this awful period of 2 years, for the last 2 years. And our motto here is I to the power of we. So look, Leaders Live, it's a freely available, edutaining expression of this, and anyone can join in and take part in extraordinary conversations. And though these are simple ideas, we aim to make a difference and make the world a better place too, folks. So we want to bring a spirit of freedom, of joy and of fun. And that whole feel-good factor in our working lives, folks. This is really important, isn't it? So for me, if you want to know more about my commercial offerings, then please book me for inspiring keynote speaking at your company events. I talk about growth mindset, I talk about high performance, I talk about business change. My company PDX boosts your business success through developing high performing teamwork, leadership, team facilitations with your teams and programs, etc. And hire me as an experienced executive coach too. I'm fully qualified in that. And lastly, I run a subscription-based community called Inspired CEO. So if you are an SME, CMO, CEO, I invite you to experience how we collaborate and play a bigger game together in our business lives. And actually, you guys, just finding Karen and Jo again, you've been in the Inspired CEO's room as well. How did you find the benefits were to our members? Karen and Jo, if I can put you on the spot for a minute.
It was a great group. We just remember having so much fun on the session. Yeah,
indeed.
And bags and bags of questions, and it just went on. It was great. Yeah. And
we're going to do another session with you as well. We're hoping to run a workshop with you at some point. So, wrapping up, folks, the goose for next week's Leaders Live is we will be back at our usual spot, Tuesday, as usual, 1st of March, at our usual time of 8:45 a.m. UK time, and I'll be hanging out with my good friend and all-round fantastic lady, the book publisher, Sue Richardson, CEO of the Right Book Company. I've known Sue for years and she is a darling, so I'm sure you'll get a lot out of this. And Sue and I will be chatting about leaving your legacy in black and white. Ooh. And in fact, Sue has published my 2 books, You Are More Than You Think and Developing High Performing Teams. So, and we believe that we all have a book in us, right? And isn't that so? It just has to be dragged out, and that's all about our legacy. So be there or be square, folks. And wrapping up right now, we're going to leave you with this loads of golden confetti that we're going to be clearing out for ages, and we're going to find it everywhere and all over our clothing. So from Karen and Jo Singh and Berdine, and I wish, we all wish you a great week ahead. So you can bop out to our intro music. Ta-ra for now. We're waving you goodbye, and we'll see you again next week. Cheers for now.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.